Good evening. Tonight has been a pretty intense night in our country. Alabama just passed the most restrictive abortion law that this country has seen in a long time. But that's actually not the reason, at least not the surface level reason, why I am practically shaking with rage tonight. And I know that sometimes in my videos I scream and yell, and it's not my intention to scream and yell in this video. Dory, hi, it's so good to see you. Carol Ann, so good to see you. I'm so glad you two, Dory and Carol Ann. I would love to hear the voices of the two of you, what I'm going to talk about tonight, because what I'm going to be talking about is this rage that I feel and the conflict. And I feel the tears coming up even as I'm talking about it. The conflict that I feel as a person who is also on a spiritual path and somebody who I recognize the spiritual principles of how love is more powerful than hatred and anger. And I understand intellectually the questions. Chris, so glad to have you watching this video tonight. I would love to hear what you think about these issues of rage that I want to be talking about. And I'm really not going to express the rage tonight. I'm not. But I want to explore what this rage is about. Jim, lovely to have you. Jill, oh my God, what a blessing. Oh, this is wonderful. Everybody who's watching this video tonight, you guys are people who I want to have this conversation with. What do you do with your rage? Let me get to the point here. I was on a date tonight, a second date with a lovely man. And our last date, we had a great conversation about so many things. And he's really deeply spiritual. And we had a wonderful connection. And I wasn't so sure I was attracted to him, but whatever. We had a great connection, a great date, and tonight was a second date. And part way, about an hour and a half into tonight, our second date, I made some political comment. I don't know what it was. And he looks at me and goes, I'm not liberal, right? And I said, and he happens to be Indian. And I said, well, I guess I figured, yes, that you were more conservative than liberal. And I said, as long as you're not a Trump supporter. And he said, well, and I lost my shit. I mean, not instantaneously, but pretty much instantaneously. And this guy said, well, I don't agree with everything he does, but, there's some good stuff. And I'm like, name me one good thing. And he said, well, the economy, I love it that he decreased taxes. And I went ape shit. I went absolute ape shit on this guy. And to his credit, he sat there and he took it. And I'm having this constant conversation with myself. And I am so eager to have this conversation, especially with some of you who are watching this video right now. Georgette, you just saw the news now. I know, right? The news about the abortion law in Alabama. And so on one level, that's not even what I was mad about tonight. This guy and I didn't even talk about abortion. He made some allusion to maybe not being completely anti-choice. I don't know. Although a little bit of a diversion, somebody said to me that we can no longer even use the word anti-choice. Now the term has to be forced birth extremists. These people passing these laws are forced birth extremists. How about that? Anyway, the conversation I want to have with all of you is about what this rage is. I mean, is there some rational, is there a way that I can assert that so let me just get up front with the fact that it is my knowing that this is not my first lifetime on earth. And that I have over many, many, many lifetimes experienced the abuses of the patriarchy. And so there's like this deep soul level rage and just fury about injustice that lives inside of me. Even though in this lifetime, I've never experienced any injustice. I'm an affluent, somewhat attractive white woman, well-educated, articulate, tall. Like, I'm really privileged. I've never experienced any injustice, none. And I get so angry And one of the things this guy said is like, he started talking about how, you know, people who make, you know, $11 an hour, $14 an hour, that if they would only just save, you know, then they wouldn't be stuck in poverty forever. You know, they go out, they buy these iPhones, and they have these actually really high standards of living. And it's just a real, you know, it's you know, like, because he's Indian, his parents are Indian immigrants, and he's like, you know, that's what my parents did. They saved, they were responsible, they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, and they had a great life. These, you know, wagging his finger at these people who make $14 an hour, $11 an hour, $9 an hour, saying, "Oh, if only you would have better financial control of your money, then you would be better." I lost my shit. I was like, that is just false. You show me on a spreadsheet how you're supposed to make $14 an hour or $9 an hour and live a life. You show me how you're supposed to save and pull yourself out of poverty. Come on. Come on. So anyway, the question I want to explore tonight is, what is this rage about? And on some level, like today, the abortion law. Hey, Raphael, nice to see you. Love to have your thoughts on this. Somebody who's experienced my passion firsthand, my rage, not at you, obviously. You're one of the good ones, but so tonight, with the abortion law that just got passed in Alabama, many of us have like a really active, a clear and present danger that we're enraged about. And I don't know about all of you, but this is what I'm asking, what I'm wondering about. How quickly does that rage come to the surface? I mean, I am a really outspoken, articulate person, and about all things. All you need to do if you want to know what I think about something is stop talking for a second, right? And I was astonished at the way that my rage came out tonight on a second date with a guy that I already, Miguel, you're saying yes. Yes to what? Please share. And he didn't even like expound on his views. This guy who I was on a date with tonight. All he said, well, he did a little bit. Like he made the assertion. I mean, I got mad when he said like, "Oh, Trump's economic policy with, you know, the tax scam was great. You know, it's a really good idea to be, you know, releasing or to lower taxes." And so I've also been I've been listening recently to Carolyn Miss. If you're familiar with her, and paying attention to all of her not all of her teaching, but a focus of her teaching is about the ways in which we give our energy away. And she talks about through the chakras and how we allow people and situations to drain our energy from, you know, people who we know, people even from past lives, people who are distant from us, whatever. And she said, anytime we're using harmful words that are intended to hurt people, that's a clear sign that your energy is being drained. And so, okay, I'm on board with that. My energy is being drained. And the question is that I'm asking myself, why? What is it that brings this anger so quickly to the surface in a way that, I mean, it's just this irresistible force. I have no power to do anything different with it. I don't know. I'm really looking for solidarity and responses and from all of you who are watching. Do you experience the same thing? Do you experience that as soon as somebody starts expressing a right-wing perspective, and that they start talking about how this, that, or the other about Trump isn't so bad, that you lose your shit like I did tonight on this guy that I was on a date with? And I've got a splitting headache. And I don't know. Not this isn't a fascinating video, right? I'm sitting here in contemplation. You don't know what's in my head. But I'm struggling. I'm really struggling. Carol Ann, it is our inherent sense of justice that says that men do not have the right to invade our bodies and govern what we do with them. It is outrageous. but I totally believe the shift is happening now. And I can't see the rest of what you said. Karen, hi. Oh my gosh. Hello. A friend from college. Haven't talked to you in forever. Yeah, and so Carol Ann, it is outrageous how our bodies are. And hey, Jennifer, good to see you. We're talking about what makes us enraged and why it gets to the surface so quickly. It does for me. And I'm a spiritual person, and I want it. I keep telling myself that it would be more spiritual to react with something other than rage. And yet I keep on being incapable of doing it. And I'm just I'm just perplexed. And part of a new thought that I had tonight or this morning, I was talking to a girlfriend, and Caroline, it's the dragon's last bite. They're losing their grip. Okay, yes, agreed, 100%, 100% agreed. Sarah, oh my gosh, hi. God, all my sisters are showing up tonight. Everybody who's like here in solidarity with this rage. I'm so glad to have all of you here. I'm there's I keep telling myself that it's not appropriate to become enraged or to express the rage or to, you know, dump the rage on someone unsuspecting. But I keep on being unable to restrict. And one theory that I have, and I would love everybody else's opinion, is that maybe this is what brought me to the video tonight. I was stewing. I got home from this date, and I was angry and stewing and stewing. And the thought that came to my mind is that for me personally, my soul just has such a yearning to be expressing myself and to be sharing my thoughts and opinions and to be being heard. And that the fact that, you know, my videos only get whatever number of views, that there aren't that many people listening to me, is just painful for my soul. And that the way that I respond to that is that anytime there is an individual sitting there, like I overcompensate. I go far to the other extreme. I'm like, well, this one person is listening to me, so I'm just going to give them hell. I'm going to scream my head off at this one person, whether it's in person or it's on Facebook or on Twitter or wherever it is. Carol Ann, rage is highly charged, and we can join hands and alchemize this. Yes, how do we do that? How do we join hands and alchemize this rage into mobilization and a shift? Yes, how do we do that? How do we join hands and alchemize this rage into mobilization? That is what I want to accomplish. Chris, God does not want actors on the stage of spirituality. God knows we are human and bring our flaws or expressions to our spirituality. Well, I mean, that's lovely. That feels good. I appreciate you sharing with me. Hey, Michael, so glad to hear you, see you here. I would love your perspective, as you know, you're a person, a man on a white man, a Jewish white, you know, whatever man, who's on the right side of things, and you have certainly, with lots of care, expressed to me that maybe my rage doesn't always serve my best interests. And I hear you, and I hear other people, and I'm and the rage doesn't go away, and I don't know what is the appropriate action for me to be taking. Carol Ann, remember, we are the majority. Yes, we are the majority, except the portion of us who are willing to speak and to do something. I think that's another piece of it too. The reason that I fly off the handle, maybe part of the reason that I fly off the handle when I'm suddenly face to face with somebody who holds right-wing views, is that oh shit, now I just lost what I was going to say. Doing that I feel like I have to make up that there's a lot of people who, Carol Ann, yes, agree with us fundamentally, that come from the same basic philosophical perspective that we do, and yet who don't speak up, and yet who, like, hide their, I mean, it is my belief that many of the people who actually say that they support the president or they don't think that he's so terrible, they actually are unaware. I want to use the word ignorant, but this guy from tonight's date got all huffy about me using the word ignorant. He thought I was calling him stupid. He doesn't understand the difference between the word stupid and ignorant. So maybe he is stupid. No, I'm just kidding. He's not. He's a very intelligent man. There's so many people that have continued to, one way or another, shield themselves from just how bad this is getting. Melanie, oh my gosh, so glad to have you on this video. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. Carol Ann, we can render patriarchy obsolete when we shift into the energy within and around us. It is crumbling. Yes, yes. And how do we do that? Like the spiritual part of me says that the way to topple the patriarchy is to step into greater love, and that, force only begets more force, and anger only begets more anger, and that when I scream and rage at whatever, all I'm doing is putting more negativity out into the world. But I'm getting a sense, and I'm wondering if anybody watching has the same sense, that I feel as though I need to take more action. I need to speak more stridently. I need to be more loud because of what I see as complacency around me. That I think that and maybe this is total bullshit. Maybe I'm making this up. I don't know. But at this moment, I feel as though I can, like, scream my way into like the right-wing nut jobs that are actually, hey Lucinda, so glad to see you. Like these right-wing nut jobs that are so loud, these anti-choice, who we now need to call forced birth extremists on the far right, are such a small minority, but because they are so loud, they are determining policy. And certainly not on an intellectual level, but maybe on an emotional level, I feel as though, well, shit, if they're becoming successful and having an impact by being loud and obnoxious, and then maybe the louder and more obnoxious I am, the more of an impact I'll have. And intellectually, I know that that's false. I believe that that's false. I mean, there's a way in which my passion and my outspokenness, I do believe, is inspirational for some people. Some people take heart in hearing me and seeing me and witnessing my willingness to be out there, right? But not everybody, and certainly not this guy I was on a date with tonight. And I don't know, is he a lost cause? I don't know. I mean, he said, I said, as long as you're not a Trump supporter, we'll be fine. His response was, well, he's like, I don't love everything he does, but, there's certainly some good stuff. What? The only appropriate response, if you understand what this Trump regime is actually doing, is rage. I don't know. I feel like I don't know if I'm getting anywhere. Carol Ann, anger is powerful and moves us to action. We have a right to be angry. We have earned it. Yeah. And so a thought that I was gnawing on some time ago over the summer was an idea that that maybe the thing to do with rage, my rage and all of us who feel enraged, is to find contained settings in which we are surrounded. Hey, Mike, so glad to have you on this video. Would love to have your thoughts and opinions on what I'm talking about with rage and how to express it. You're very articulate and you talk a lot on my wall and my discussions, and you know how I fly off the handle sometimes. Would love to have your 2 cents on this. So what I was saying is I had this thought over the summer that maybe a way to deal productively with the rage that we feel is to express that rage within contained settings. Like if I'm going to do a YouTube video, or if I'm going to host an event, or if I'm going to have a gathering of girlfriends, or girlfriends including men, right? Like our allies, feminists. And that when we are in a group of people with whom we have an agreement, that we can unleash our rage as that is a fueling, as Carol Ann said a few minutes ago. Like it's joining hands to alchemize a mobility, and that if we use those kinds of settings to unleash the rage and to express the rage and to flush the rage out of us, that then we'll be like dialed down a couple of levels, so that when we're going around our ordinary world and we happen to accidentally bump into a Trump supporter on a date, that we wouldn't need to be so enraged in that situation. I don't know, Michelle. As a woman over 40, I feel like I have failed my younger sisters. I have not set up future generations for success. Wow, I want you to say more about that, Michelle. Carol Ann, I love you for being angry. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Sometimes there is no appropriate container for radical change. Yes, no appropriate container for the radical change. But what I'm really investigating within myself is I'm trying to explicitly enumerate the rage in one container and the change that I want to see in another container, and my spiritual principles about how to activate real change in another container. And I'm just trying to manage my way through this, and I mean, sometimes I decide that the answer is that that we just need the fucking rage. I don't know. I mean, and I think about leaders of the past who have made change, and unfortunately, the leaders that are easiest to study are male leaders. History has largely forgotten many of the women, but I've been making an attempt to dig into some historical documents about some female feminists in the suffrage movement, and these bitches were mad. They were mad, and they didn't try to hide. Now, the history books forgot about them, and they were slandered as, in all different kinds of ways. I was about to say they were slandered as lesbians. There's nothing slanderous about being a lesbian, but saying whatever, it doesn't make any difference. Stupid thing. And so I don't know, maybe, like some of us are just meant to be fucking angry and express it. Michelle, I've taken for granted the rights I've always had and that are being stolen from our daughters. Yeah, I think all of us have, right? And I think what a lot of us are, right now, here's yet another thing. So on the abortion issue specifically, and let the record show that is not, at least on the surface, the primary thing about which I personally am enraged. Yes, it's enraging. And absolutely, I want these forced birth extremists to be thrown out of office, and better yet, have other consequences imposed upon them. It's atrocious, right? We need to have legal abortion nationwide that is available and affordable. But there's all kinds of issues around which so many of us have been lulled to sleep, right? Like how many pundits have talked about how during 8 years of Obama, all of us good white people thought that racism was over, right? Michael, rage is like gasoline. If you ignite it randomly, it causes great destruction. If you ignite it in a car engine, it drives you where you need to go. Build your engine. Okay, I like that. And now, guess what, Michael? Your homework assignment is to give me a blueprint for an engine. Like, help me out, brother. Help me. I don't know what the engine needs to look like. I'm asking for help. I am happy to at least try to exert the discipline to pour gasoline only into an engine. And I don't know how to build it. I don't know what that engine should look like. I mean, not a week goes by that somebody doesn't tell me that I need to run for political office, and I just don't think that's the right answer for me. But what else? And I'm calling myself a writer now, more so than I ever have before. And I'm working on my 2 books, and I'm this is part of why I'm dealing with it, because I'm struggling to find the self-discipline. All of us woo-woo chicks that are on the video tonight appreciate this. Like, our self-discipline, our will is in our fifth chakra. And if you've got energy drains in your lower 4 chakras, you're going to have a really hard time finding personal will in your 5th chakra. So, like, when I have angry words spilling out of my 2nd chakra, draining my energy, no wonder I don't have the personal will to sit down and work on my book. What else? Carol Ann, don't compartmentalize. That is a left brain activity when we use our right brain. Okay, you got to say more about that. I don't know what that means. Don't compartmentalize. Help me out with that. Chris, good luck, as I don't have the rage you feel. Then again, I'm a recovering alcoholic where rage is discouraged. Okay, I mean, you have had rage though, right? I mean, I think what I know of you is that, well, I shouldn't say. Anyway, David, hi. So good to see you on the video. Scott, nice to see you. We're talking about rage and what is appropriate to do with it. And the question on the table from Michael is, build an engine and pour gasoline into the engine. Because if you just discriminately pour gasoline, he's saying that rage is like gasoline. And if you just indiscriminately spread gasoline, rage everywhere, it's going to, who knows what's going to happen. It's going to be bad and destructive. But if you pour gasoline into an engine, your car goes where you want it to go. Okay, let's go with that metaphor for a minute. What kind of an engine? And this also gets back to what Carol Ann said about joining hands to, and now I'm forgetting the words that you used, not metastasize, that's absolutely not the right word. Joining hands to, no, I can't remember the word, to make, that's a terrible, you use a wonderful word. Joining hands to activate, still not a good word. Revolution, and that's my word, but I think that's what you meant, to joining hands together to activate transformation and forward change. Michelle, it starts with abortion. The ignorant rhetoric thrown about tells us that. As time passes, more rights will be on the chopping block. I'm Italian. Rage is a part of my heritage. Yeah. So, I mean, a question for you, Michelle. What do you do with your rage? Like, I can imagine if it's your heritage, it's your family, probably all of you express rage. And so probably most of you are okay with, experiencing one another's rage, and around the family, it's not a huge deal. But, and maybe that's not true. And what about when you encounter other people? I don't know. Bill, I like these ideas. I mean, this is some crowdsourcing, radical nationwide transformation right here, people. We're building an engine and we are catalyzing radical transformation. Carol Ann, love the engine. It runs beautifully when all the parts operate together. Then we all move forward. Yeah. Yeah. And Michelle, you can't say that would make you an accessory. What? You can't say that would make you an accessory? I don't get it. Make me an accessory to your family? What? I don't know what you're saying. Oh yeah. I mean, this is tough. This is, and I mean, this is also just good. I mean, I don't know about all of you that are watching, but I feel better, I mean, I'm a little bit hot tonight. I'm a little bit loud. I'm certainly waving my arms around, and some people have given me feedback on my videos. Are like, put your arms down. You fling your arms around too much. What do you think you are, Beto? No. I don't care. I'm half Italian too, Michelle. So I'm expressive. But I feel better. Like, I'm smiling. And Danielle, oh my God, hi. So good to see you. I would love to hear your wisdom, girl. We are talking about, the balancing act between what we know is spiritual in terms of how to activate change in the world, but then also the practical realities of there's so much going on in the world that is just enraging. And like, how do you deal with that? How do you confront that? Yeah, and what the solution on the table is that we need to build an engine. Or another way of putting that is we need to join hands together and activate a radical transformation in the world. And I wholly agree. I this morning, I found myself not fighting with, but getting into a little bit of disagreement with a bunch of women, all of us who we agree fundamentally that these right-wing nut jobs in Alabama are off the charts and need to be stopped. Hello, Danielle. But I was talking about on this thread this morning with these people that I was talking with, was that because this one woman had posted a meme that presented itself as advice to women who need an abortion, and it said, like, step 1, take a home pregnancy test. Don't go to any doctor's office. Step 2, don't tell a single soul. Step 3, go on a hiking trip and don't tell anybody where you're really going. And step 4, don't tell a soul other than your doctor, because if anybody ever finds out that you had the abortion, then they violated HIPAA and they're in trouble. And I'm like, that sounds like some really fucked up advice to me. Like, what? We can't possibly be telling women that the way to deal with, these monstrous laws coming down is to go silent. The answer has to be to go louder. And I understand that the pushback that I was getting is that it felt as though I was, one person used the word shaming, but it felt as though I was wagging my finger at women who need abortions and telling them that you who want and need the abortion, you have to take more risk, and you have to put yourself in greater jeopardy, and you have to be willing to take the hit for all of us. And that's not what I was using the analogy of Dr. Martin Luther King. And Michelle, my solution is using my voice to vote. Okay, great. Yes. I mean, a lot of people don't even do that. And I don't think that's enough, sister. We got to figure out how to do more. Mel, I would say, what is the root of all your rage? And come up with unanimous origination point and go from there. Yeah, that's great advice. And to the extent, and I want to get back to the point that I was making about Dr. Martin Luther King, but I mean, to the extent that that's what I'm doing here. And I believe that the root of my rage is that I just feel a visceral just fury at any abuse of power. And I believe that it is rooted in many, 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 many lifetimes. Marcy, so good to see you. Would love to have your voice on what we're talking about here tonight. I believe that my fury at the patriarchy is rooted in many lifetimes of having been victimized by it. I have memories of having been burned at the stake and all kinds of other ways in which I have been victimized. And also, by the way, I have memories of ways in which I have been the abuser, right? That I have been a weapon of the patriarchy. I have been a man who slaughtered people and all kinds of other things. That's my belief, that I've had all these other lifetimes, and that all of that has come together. Because if it's not true, like, I have no idea what has happened in this lifetime that has made me so fucking rageful. And I'd be really curious to know anybody. I mean, like, I've never been violently sexually assaulted. Of course, I've been sexually harassed. And there have been 1 or 2 times that I was in a physically compromising situation, but never has a man violently or physically forced himself on me, ever. Yeah, I mean, a couple of men that I was fooling around with who, like, I couldn't figure out how to get them off of me, and so I had sex with them even though I didn't want to. Fine, who hasn't done that? But I've never been violently sexually assaulted. I've never been discriminated against, as far as I know. So there's nothing. Jane, hi, so good to see you. Would love to hear your thoughts on this, girl. There's nothing in my personal experience that would create or fuel this level of fury. And so I just don't know what to make of it. As far as an origination, if it's not, lifetimes and lifetimes. So, and I unfortunately, most of us, and probably most of you who are watching, have experiences in this lifetime. I was about to say, but I mean, I among the people who are watching, you have shared with me your personal stories. I know that many of you have experienced overt discrimination, gender discrimination, and many of you have been assaulted. And those are experiences that generate some fury. None of that's ever happened to me. Why am I so fucking angry about this? I've never experienced any I mean, like, I don't know. And I mean, why? And we also learned that, like, why is never a good question, right? It's not a supportive question. It's not a helpful question. How or what are better questions. So, what is the most effective use of my fury, right? What is most supportive for my goals? How am I? What can I do with my rage that will tend to most increase my own personal power? Now, that's a good question. And that's a good question for everybody who's listening, actually. Michelle, oh my gosh, hi. So good to see you on this video. I would love to have your thoughts on this, girl. Alex, wow, I haven't talked to you in forever. I would love to hear people's answer to that question, right? What can you, for those of you who are watching, who are enraged at what is going on in various bodies of government right now, what can you do with your own rage that will most tend to increase your personal power and influence? That is a powerful question. That is a powerful question. Carrie, hi, so good to hear from you, see you, watching. What can each of us do with our rage that will most increase our own personal power and influence? That is a powerful question. And going on this theme that we've been talking about tonight about Carol and Miss and how our energy leaks out of our chakras when we are allowing our energy to drain, there's ways in which, inappropriate venting of rage is doing the opposite. It's doing the opposite. Danielle, it's all energy. Yes. When women get angry, laws change. Really? I want to hear more about that. Everybody plays their part in change. How is the universe directing you to cause change? Right. Right. That's my question. How is the universe directing me to cause change? I mean, other than the broadest sense of the word, I get it that I'm called to use my voice, that I am called to speak, to express, to lean in. I mean, the gifts that I have the gift of gab. I have courage. I have volume. I have, so leaning into those natural gifts and characteristics to spread a message. Carol Ann, stay grounded. Yes. So for my woo-woo friends who are listening right now, I have bergamot on my 5th chakra, and I have cedar essential oil, and I have cedarwood essential oil here across my clavicles. I have rosemary on my 3rd chakra, and I have Roman chamomile on my 3rd eye and up into my 7th chakra. All of which is intended to ground me and to heal my 3rd chakra, because I think, so this is, I think that for me personally, part of so some of my leaking is the angry words that I allow to fly out, and that's a 2nd chakra thing, I think. But I believe that for me personally, my greatest energy leaks are in my 3rd chakra, which is about personal responsibility. And okay, so here's a new thought. Maybe part of why I get so enraged at what I see as other people shirking their responsibility is because I myself am not taking as much responsibility as I know I need to. That's a good because if I know anything, it's that whatever judgments we have of others are judgments we have of ourselves 100% of the time. If we view whatever we scream out at others is always something that we have to say about ourselves. Danielle, look at all of our ancestors. Each of our sisters have taken the anger and created change. I want to know more about that. I want to have more conversations about that. As I was saying earlier, I think before you joined the video, unfortunately, too often the history books have excluded our women leaders, our women ancestors. And so, we hear about how Gandhi did it, how Martin Luther King Jr. did it. And, we don't hear about our suffragette sisters nearly as much. We don't hear about Mother Jones, right? We just think of her as being a magazine. She was a powerful, infuriated activist. So I'm thinking that maybe I should head towards wrapping up. I don't know. But I think that some of the takeaways from tonight, is that personal responsibility is key. And I get, and I think that I think that's possibly a pretty big breakthrough for me personally. That part of my rage stems from what I perceive as other people's lack of personal responsibility. Because one of the things that absolutely that infuriates me is when people come from a place of lack of knowledge, inaccurate facts. With people who claim that people who think that they know anything at all about the Russia investigation, and they haven't bothered to even read the summaries of the Mueller report. Like, it just infuriates me. Carol Ann, one of my favorite goddesses is Pele, the Hawaiian goddess of the volcano. Girl. So one of my favorite goddesses is oh God, what's my Kali, fire goddess. Fire goddess. She erupts on people who piss her off and changes the entire landscape. And I'll confess, I have a tremendous affinity with Maleficent. That Disney movie from a couple years ago that Angelina Jolie played Maleficent. And it was like, when she became angry, like, right, it like came out of her fingertips and she just like burned shit down. And I mean, what I hear you saying is that, and you'll start with Jane. Yes, Jane Fonda is another one. God, yes, man, oh man, that is that woman someone who has not been given her due as far as what she's done. And so what I hear you saying, Carol Ann, is that this energy of burning shit down is not necessarily to be scoffed at or to be turned away from. And that, hey, Alex, nice to have you on the video. And that the destructive power of feminine rage is not a bad thing. That's what I hear you saying, Carol Ann. And I guess, and I'm so grateful to hear that perspective, because so often, the spiritual perspective is to come from love and light, and to recognize that you can accomplish so much more with love than you can with darkness. And yeah, there's a couple of goddesses that are just all about burning shit down, and they're spiritual too, man. They're goddesses. They're of the spirit world. And and there's the practical reality that in our modern world, and this is something that Michael has warned me about, who's an attorney, and he is looking out for my best interests, that if you start advocating for tearing shit down, I mean, that very quickly can get you hauled in on, various charges, right? Because, hey, Linda, oh my God, so glad to see you. I would love to have your perspective on this video of what we've been talking about. You are absolutely one of the white warriors out there fighting the good fight. I would love to hear what you say about this. Pele, the Hawaiian goddess of the volcano, and Kali, the goddess of fire. Anthony, oh my God, so good to see you. I would love to have your thoughts on this too. Those goddesses couldn't get thrown in jail for burning shit down. We feminists, we sure can, right? I mean, if you must be clear about the replacement for what you tear down. That's a very good point. It's a very good point. Yeah, and I mean, the men who fought the revolution were traitors, right? If they had lost, they would have all lost their lives. They were, staging an armed rebellion against the law of the land. And one of them said, we must either hang together or we will surely all hang separately, right? I might be butchering that quote, but it's something along those lines. Maybe Benjamin Franklin said that. So, or another way of saying it is, if you're gonna, if you're gonna shoot at the king, you'd better take his head off. Or I'm butchering that even worse. And I guess that's part of, people are really afraid. And even though I can see, and I know that a lot of you who are watching this video can see, that we are, if we're not already we are very close to a point of no return. And, people like Joe Biden, like, oh, once Trump gets out of office, we'll go back to normal. Bullshit, we will. This country is not ever going back to anything. And we shouldn't. Oh, and here's Smokey coming in to say hello for the end of the video. Hello, Smokey. Say hi to the people. Anyway, I feel my energy winding down. I feel everybody else's energy winding down. Thank you so much, everybody. We've crowdsourced some possible solutions. We need to work on building an engine and figuring out how to lock hands and arms with one another to activate and catalyze the revolution that we're looking for. And we can't shirk away from our anger, and nor can we shirk our personal responsibility. We have to recognize that every single one of us has power. What we individually do matters. So anyway, thanks everybody. So appreciate it. And keep the comments coming. Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks everybody. Have a great night.